What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Guys, I'm back with one of my favorite channels that's based in the Netherlands, which is Not Just Bikes. Definitely gonna be posting some more. I have already done quite a few videos from Not Just Bikes that I'm probably gonna repost so you guys can see them and check them out and just give me some feedback. Let me know what you think. But I had to do this one because, man, the title is so right. Why American cities are broke, and I don't even think it's just cities, because they just making the people broke, because everything getting expensive and getting outrageously high. But this is the growth of the Ponzi scheme, so we finna check this out. Like I said, Not Just Bikes, one of my favorite channels. I reposted a couple of videos, but I think I did a lot of videos from this channel that I'm gonna repost to this channel. So hey, y'all hit that subscribe button, send out more recommendations, and let's hear it. Let's see what my guy got to say.
Welcome to the third video in my Strong Town series. If you have no idea what Strong Towns is about, you might want to watch the first two videos, but it's not strictly necessary.
I'm gonna have to check those out then. I didn't even know
American
he had this
cities
series.
are famous for car-dependent sprawl.
Right.
That's probably one of the first things most people associate with America after apple pie, baseball, and driving in soul-crushing traffic. But this wasn't always the case. American cities don't have to be sprawling just because the country itself is big. And up until the Second World War, they weren't. They were just as compact as cities found almost anywhere else.
Dang.
But after the 1940s, America started on a totally different pattern of development and began their great suburban experiment. But herein lies the problem, because this American pattern of development builds places that do not financially support themselves. And the only reason they're still there is because American cities are a Ponzi scheme. If you don't know what a Ponzi scheme is, there are many videos on YouTube, but the very quick explanation is as follows. A scammer offers an imaginary investment opportunity, offering a huge return on investment. Investor A comes along and invests. Now, the scammer doesn't actually have the money to pay investor A if he wants his money out, so he takes on another investor B. He uses the money from investor B to pay investor A, pocketing a little for himself, of course. But how does he pay investor B?
Get another
Easy.
investor.
He just brings on investors C, D, E, and so on.
And wow.
This works out great for our scammer, but the moment that growth stops, he has a very big problem. In the end, all Ponzi schemes fail. It's just a matter of when.
And that's the craziest thing, because, like, sometimes to me, I feel like, especially maybe in my town, they be adding some unnecessary stuff, or they take long to fix certain things, or it's just a lot. It's just a lot of unnecessary stuff.
In the end,
sometimes.
all Ponzi schemes fail. It's just a matter of when. One of the key insights of strong towns is that the way that U.S. and Canadian cities have been built since World War II follows exactly this model. American-style suburbia is dependent on growth to stay financially solvent. The moment these cities stop growing, because of a financial crisis, a radical change in the job market, or any one of a number of other factors, everything starts to fall apart. Strong Towns calls this the growth Ponzi scheme. Now, unlike financial fraud, the generation who started this process didn't do it intentionally. After World War II, America was a prosperous country, and with low-cost automobiles available, it seemed possible that every American could own their own house, on their own piece of land, and the American dream was born.
Not anymore. Shoot.
Could
Not
own their
anymore.
own house, on their own piece of land, and the American dream was born. This became so central to American psychology that the idea that suburban development provides prosperity is taken as fact by almost everyone in the country. And the same goes for Canada, too. Part of the problem is how suburban growth is financed. When the suburbs began, huge amounts of money from federal and state governments were given to cities to build out their suburbs. This still goes on today. For example, when a city wants to build a new road or freeway, usually less than a quarter of the funding comes from the city itself. The overwhelming majority comes from the Department of Transportation and other higher levels of government. So cities don't have to pay very much to build new infrastructure, but they do get a big influx of tax revenue from the new developments that spring up.
And in our neighborhood, like our house was brand new, built up. But as our house was being built, they was building like 20 more houses. Then across the street, just outside of our neighborhood, guy just built like 50 houses over there. It is crazy how much. And guess what? They offer up, because our house got built in a much rather older neighborhood, but they start fixing up the streets. That our street didn't need fixing. Why? Because we had the tax dollars, and they was able to pay those workers just to fix a road that didn't need fixing. But there's other roads that just, man, it's a lot. It's a lot.
But they
man.
do get a big influx of tax revenue from the new developments that spring
It's
up.
too much to me.
This brings us to the first problem. It encourages cities to build lots of new developments, even if they don't make any financial sense. Of course, all this new cheap infrastructure comes with a very important catch. The city may get it built for cheap, but the city is ultimately responsible for paying to maintain that infrastructure forever. On the surface, this is fine. Governments want to invest in their cities because they are the engines of economic growth. And for the city, this should be fine too. They collect taxes from the new developments that spring up around that infrastructure, and those taxes go towards future maintenance. The big problem begins if there isn't enough tax revenue collected to cover the replacement cost of the infrastructure. And that is exactly what has happened with car-dependent suburbia, because car-centric sprawl is horrendously expensive. To explain this problem further, I'll use the example of a, quote, ideal development that is often used as an example by strong towns.
That's how my town look right now.
Imagine a new suburban housing development on the edge of town. In this case, the developer completely pays for the street and turns it over to the city for maintenance. The residents move in and start paying tax revenue. This couldn't get any better for the suburban municipality. Free development, free road, bunch of new tax revenue. This is awesome. Now, the municipality in this case would put a little bit of money aside for the maintenance of that road. So what would this look like in an American suburb? Well, at first, streets don't need a lot of maintenance. They may require some minor repairs, such as filling cracks, but in general, new streets are pretty cheap. So the suburban city's cash flow looks something like this.
Wow.
Everything looks pretty great until the end of the street's life cycle, because eventually all streets and roads need resurfacing. So suddenly, the graph goes like this. If the city were just this one street, it would already be bankrupt. But cities aren't just one street. They're made up of hundreds of streets and individual developments. So assuming a new development every other year, a real growing city's cash flow would look something like this.
Wow.
With new developments covering the cost of past developments. As you can see, growth covers the problem, and the city is financially solvent again.
This is making a lot of sense in my town right now. Because we had a guy just come in, and I kid you not, I wish... I might have to document this to see, but I don't want to give out, because people actually live in these homes and stuff, don't want to give out their address or nothing. But dude came and bought up basically our whole town, bought properties and started building house. He probably built at least 250 houses, at least houses and townhomes.
As
Crazy.
you can see, growth covers the problem, and the city is financially solvent again. Yay! This is great. Let's build more. Lots of asphalt and free parking for everyone. But when you get a couple of generations into the suburban experiment, the maintenance obligations of the past start to catch up with you.
Yeah.
Suddenly, your suburb's finances start to look something like this. Because when you lose money on every development, you don't make it up in volume. Now, it's important to note that this is an ideal case, as this model assumes near constant growth. In reality, cities have phases of growth and phases of decline, and this situation is made even worse because these growing infrastructure liabilities tend to show up just as a period of growth is over. Many Americans like to brush
y'all
this
see
off.
those beat up. Y'all see these two houses right now. These houses, of course, very, very old, right? Let's say somebody ends up buying these houses. They probably wasn't worth that much to begin with. Even when they were brand new, they're probably worth like 40 or 50,000. Right now, for a beat up house like this, it can probably be worth between 60 and 80,000. You get a house like this, maybe you can fix it up, tear down, rebuild another house. This same house, just with some minor fixes, let's say you put like 40K into it just to fix it up. Those minor fixes, this house still, especially in my town, this house will be worth almost $200,000 if you just fixed it up for 40 to 50,000. This house, these two, if you just fix these up, or even sell the land probably worth a good grip. The land probably worth more than the beat up house right there. That's the crazy thing. Man, it's a lot to learn with real estate, man. It
is over. Many Americans like to brush this off by claiming that cities do actually collect enough tax revenue, but it's all lost to corruption or inefficiencies or unions or whatever. But the reality is that most American suburbs collect only a fraction of the tax revenue required to actually finance their sprawling infrastructure. Strong Towns has several case studies about this, such as this example of a suburban road that needed resurfacing. In order for the residents to cover just the cost of their own road, the city would need an immediate 46% increase in property tax.
What?
And there are so many other costs to a city beyond just roads, such as sewer and water systems, sidewalks, treatment systems, pumps, water towers, stormwater ponds, as well as all the operational costs of running a city, such as police or fire departments. You can't just brush this off by waving your hands in the air and saying,
efficiencies.
Worst case scenario, you have no problem with parking taxes?
No, efficiencies.
I'll link to this and other cases by Strong Towns in the description. And Canada is not much better. An analysis done by the Halifax Regional Municipality found that the cost to maintain and service an urban home are well less than half that of a suburban home. But in most North American cities, the suburban home pays less property tax. This leads to an effective subsidy for car-dependent suburbia. Now, don't get me wrong, our cities need affordable housing. But the solution is not to subsidize the least efficient, least sustainable developments in the city. But that topic deserves a lot more explanation, so I'll talk about that in more detail in a future video. So it's clear that car-dependent suburbs are not financially sustainable. The amount of tax revenue collected by the suburb does not cover the replacement cost of its infrastructure. And so suburban cities become addicted to growth, any kind of growth, even second-rate taco joints, just to bring in enough tax revenue to cover their maintenance obligations.
I ain't never heard of Taco
John's. We've had several generations of this suburban garbage, several life cycles of road, water, and sewer replacements. But somehow, suburbia is still there. So you might be asking yourself, how are car-dependent suburbs still around? Why is this still a thing? And what has kept it afloat all these years?
Taxes?
Well, the answer is debt. Lots and lots and lots of debt. But I'll explore that in the next episode of this series on Strong Towns.
Man, I gotta check that out.
I'd like to thank my supporters on Patreon who pay me to copy Strong Towns homework.
If you'd like to donate to Strong Towns,
visit strongtowns.org/membership. Or if you'd like to support this channel and get access to bonus videos, visit patreon.com/notjustbikes.
Nice. Man, yeah, I feel like I need to check that one out. I need to check out that one. And I'm guessing Strong Towns 1. I don't know what that would be about, but man, that's a lot. I feel like I kind of learned something today, because I definitely been seeing a lot of that going on just within this past year. I would just say in 2021 I did. Yep, 2021, that past year. That's seen a lot of that. But man, that's why cities are in major debt. Like you said, they're just trying to add all these new developments to pay. I feel like pretty much pay for stuff that's probably been needing fixing or work done probably since the 90s or 80s. You know, especially in my town. That's how I feel. Using all these new structures and stuff to just pay stuff off that they ain't have paid off, or they ain't paid on in years maybe. But like I always say, guys, to each his own. But that's all I have for this video. Definitely one of those. This is definitely one of the channel that I definitely enjoyed. It's really, I believe this channel and another channel, but mainly this channel was like the first that got me into checking out videos about the Netherlands, especially like the cycling community and stuff like that. So definitely enjoy Not Just Bikes. That's all I have. Y'all make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. Send out more recommendations. And hey, y'all be blessed, be the best, and be you. I'm out.